Welcome to the Online Success Journey Podcast, your opportunity to discover and learn from entrepreneurs like yourself. This is not your typical podcast, but a place where you can get the real story and find out how real people encounter speed bumps and detours, but journey through to find success. Now here's your host for the Online Success Journey Podcast, Patience.
Hello everyone and welcome to Online Success Journey. This is episode 206. Are you ready to join the clan? Today we have Kerry Glover, podcast guest booker and publicist. Kerry's 18-year media career included working as a radio host, talented agent, and podcast producer. She started podcasting in 2007 and transitioned to the podcasting industry full-time in 2014. Hello, Kerry.
Hello, Patience. Thank you for having me. Very excited to be on the show.
Thank you for coming. I know the clan here is anxious to hear your story, so let's get started with the basics. Can you tell my clan a little bit about your background, about what you did before you started your own online business?
Sure. So I have been in media and entertainment for about 20 years. I actually started in Hollywood as an intern and worked my way up. So I worked in the film business. I interviewed celebrities on the red carpet. I got myself into radio and was a radio announcer. And from there, got into podcasting. And now I run the Talent Squad, and we're a podcast guest booking agency. We book podcast tours for entrepreneurs.
Wow. Okay. What is the most dangerous belief an online entrepreneur can have?
I think that when you do the same, you get the same. So if you keep doing the same thing, you've solved the problem. As an entrepreneur, once I've solved something, it's like plugging holes. Another leak springs up somewhere else. So your work is never done. The problem is never solved, and something new always comes up.
Why do you do what you do?
Because I can't not do what I do. I feel my work and my life is not separated. It's one and the same. My interest and my work is the same thing. So I go to sleep and I can't wait till I wake up and work with the Talent Squad. So yeah, it's impossible for me not to do the work that I do.
Let's put man aside. How do you know you are successful?
I think that success depends on the metric by which you are measuring. So for me, my measurement is always how safe I feel. So do I feel safe and do I feel in control of the business, or is the business in control of me? That's my metric for success. So if I feel like I've got things going and everything's not wily beast rolling around being crazy, then I feel that's pretty successful to me.
Can anyone be an entrepreneur, or are some people more cut out for it than others?
So in my mind, yes, anyone can be an entrepreneur, but in practice, I've got friends and family where I suggest it to them and I can just see them go into a cold panic and shut down. So for me, I think for entrepreneurs, it seems easy and that anybody can do it. But for other people that may be employees and used to that, being responsible for them just showing up and then going home and doing a great job, I think it's not necessarily possible. So I think it's something within us that we take for granted that not everybody has.
What have you learned from business as a whole?
That's like how long is a piece of string? I think what I've learned is it's never ending. That there's a hurdle and then you overcome it and you work towards it, and then there's something else. There's always something over the horizon, and I don't think your work is ever done. I don't necessarily think there's ever a point where you're like, okay, everything's solved. I can walk away and it runs itself and that's it forever. So it's forever evolving in business, I think.
What is the secret to creating a profitable booking agency?
That's the $1 million question, Patience. What's the secret? You know what? When I figure out the secret, I will let you know. Or if you figure it out, please let me know. So the Talent Squad, we're a podcasting agency. So we're a bit of a hybrid because podcasts are reasonably new. People are getting into them now, and it's moving very, very quickly. So it's changing all the time. So just when you think you've got it figured out, the audience wants something different, the clients want something different, new things are getting invented. So I think, maybe the secret in success is watching what's happening and changing with what's happening and being really nimble, because I don't think you can be a slow machine when it comes to podcasting or being an agency.
What is one thing that has contributed to your success?
I think that it comes from being a radio announcer and being able to deal with things on the fly. And also, I did improv classes. I was terrible at it a long time ago, and just being really quick with your mind and being responsive. So I think, again, that helps with solving problems quickly and being willing to get rid of a bad idea instead of clinching onto it forever and saying, no, this is what we're doing. We're sticking to it until the death of the idea. So test it, try to poke holes in it, run with it. And if it fails, move on to something else. You don't have to stick hold of something, keep grasp of something just because you started off with it.
What is one thing no one knows about you?
I was a tour guide in Europe for a year. I worked for a company called Bus About, and it was a hop-on, hop-off coach service. So I think I was in a different city every day for a whole year, living with bus drivers and tour guides, and I think it was 43 cities and something like 17 countries. And once I lost a passenger. So there you go. I don't really tell many people that. Well, I say lost. They got off in Bruges and didn't get back on the coach, and we didn't figure it out for a long time because someone else snuck on the coach, and then we found them in Amsterdam. So there's a travel story for you.
Wow, because I was like, did you find this person? What happened? So they just got off and left the luggage in the bus.
So the tour at the time, the tour went from Paris to Bruges to Amsterdam. So we stopped in Bruges, and a whole bunch of people got off the coach and a whole bunch of people got on the coach, and someone got on the coach that didn't swipe their pass. So we thought that they were the same person, and then we figured out that they weren't. So someone snuck on and hadn't swiped, and someone had gotten off. So therefore someone had been left in Bruges and had to get the train by themselves to Amsterdam. So it's been quite a few years. I can talk about it now, but at the time I probably would have burst into tears. It was very horrible. So, yeah.
At least they found their way around. Oh, dear. Okay.
Oh, yeah, they got on a train and they were totally fine, and it was an adventure. But at the time, it was not funny. It was not funny at the time, no.
No. Okay. In your business, do you have a mentor?
Yes, I've had, at the moment, no, but I've had a number of mentors along the way and most of them have been from radio. And I've found, for me, they've been older women that have already been through different things but don't do the same. Like booking agencies, as I've said, is quite new. So they've come from the promotional background or from the radio announcer background. So I think I don't think you necessarily need one mentor. I think sometimes people have different expertise in different areas. So sometimes you can have multiple. You can, what do they call it? They call it like having a panel of mentors or something like that. A board of advisors. So you don't necessarily have to have one person to advise you on everything. You can have multiple. That's what I have.
What is the most valuable thing your mentor has told you?
I think that it's not necessarily what they've told me. It's what they've asked me. A good mentor won't just tell you what to do and you go away and do it. They will keep asking and prodding until you give the answer to the question, because they sometimes know what you don't, but you have to discover it for yourself. So I think the answer is in the asking the right questions as opposed to telling you the right things. And that's what I try to do with my clients as well. I'll prod and prod and prod because I know that you're an expert. I know you've got the answer. And if I ask the right questions, we'll be able to like really dig in and pinpoint to it as opposed to me just telling you what I think. Because a lot of people, sometimes we have our own answers.
What is the most valuable thing you have ever given away?
I would say my knowledge and expertise. It's taken me 20 years to get where I am and a lot of mistakes. So for me, this is what I've learned to get where I am, and every time I teach someone something, I know I'm cutting off years of what they have to learn and struggle to do by themselves. So when I was in radio, the station went off air, I'd have phone calls going over the air, and all the mistakes that I've done, I can give my knowledge to you, and then that will save years off you learning. And I think that's with anyone. That's why we all do the courses and different things, because we want someone else's knowledge that they've taken for so many years.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to go into podcasting or want to start their own channel? What advice would you give them if they are really hesitating to start or they are really anxious to start? What 3 tips can you give them?
So if someone wanted to be a podcast guest, like I am on your lovely show now, I would say practice in private. So I think one of the mistakes people make is to go on a show unprepared. They might not have all the assets ready. So you can, like, everyone has, well, most of us have a laptop these days. So you can just get practice with your friends, family, or to yourself doing the interviews before you go on someone's show. So that's a big thing. You don't have to, your first interview shouldn't be on someone's show without having a sort of a rehearsal, right? And then the other thing is make sure you've got your assets ready beforehand. So you'll often hear people say done is better than perfect. But when it comes to pitching podcasts or being a guest on podcasts or any media, for that fact, done is not going to get you a yes on the show. You need online media kit to be good. You need your headshots to be good. You need your talking points. You need your one sheet. You need your subject lines. So everything has to be pretty great because it's extremely competitive to get that spot. So you need to be prepared before you start pitching the media, because often you'll have one chance. And Patience, you would know this, you get pitched all the time. If the subject line isn't good, or if you go and look at a website and it's not great, that's an instant no from you. So take the time to prepare before you launch into pitching podcasts and or any media.
Nowadays, podcast and the podcast bookers is becoming a popular thing. Do you think it's being overcrowded?
Yes, I think that, so my background again is in radio. I've been an announcer and I've also been a producer. I produced 8 shows for a podcast network. So I've been on both sides where I've been, people have pitched me and I've had to make the selection. And then in my business, we pitch people. So I think that the industry is being deprofessionalized with people coming in that are virtual assistants that don't have any broadcast public relations or publicity experience. And I think that is hurting the industry a little bit because, and even though the industry is, public relations has been around forever, but pitching podcasts, people are new to that. I think that for people like you that are hosts, you're getting slammed by unprofessional pitches. So it just makes it harder for you to sift through to decide which are good agencies and which are possible good guests. I think that anyone can pitch a podcast, but just make sure you know what you're doing, you're professional about it, and for goodness sakes, please do not do a copy and paste email where, hi, insert host name, I loved, insert episode name, and make it generic. That's not going to work. They have to be individual for every single pitch.
And again, if you are listening and you want to appear on podcasting, please, having one sheet and it makes things easier.
Yeah. So if you're a guest, if you don't know, a one sheet is a 1-page PDF and it's a press kit in one. So that would have your headshot, it would have your name, it would have your business name, and then it would have a short bio plus talking points and social media. If you've got a book, it would have your book on there. And so it's one place for the host to scan very quickly. And it's not to get a yes on the interview. That's a mistake people make. A one sheet is actually for the host to decide if they want to take the next step and research you. No host is going to say yes off a one sheet. They'll then go to your website, go to your social media, look at videos of you, listen to some interviews of you. So that's the first step, the gateway to moving to the next stage of vetting a guest. But we recommend always having a one sheet and always having an online media kit where everything is in one place.
What reassurance or encouragement have you got for the members of my clan who are not quite there yet and who want to move into podcasting? What reassurance would you give them?
I would say start getting ready piece by piece and have a look at people that you like and reverse engineer. So there is a lot of moving parts and things you need to get in place before you pitch, but pick one thing and do that. So do you have your messaging? If you're an expert, most people that go on podcasts are experts in their field. So we know that you know your area of expertise. That is not something you need to worry about. What you do need to do is think, okay, I'm an accountant, whatever it is. So then you need to get your messaging, you need to get your talking points, and you need to package up your expertise to take it to market to pitch for publicity. So make sure you've got, I wouldn't say professional headshots are great, but these days with an iPhone, you can get professional grade headshots, but don't send a snapshot from 1983. Take the time to get a really good photo, which you can with the right lighting, and then always send that, preempt what the host wants. So what kind of guests have the host had on the show? What topics have they already covered? Am I pitching a show that Oprah was the last guest? Well, maybe that's not the right show for you. So start small and level up rather than going for the top shows, but make sure if that's a yes, you've got your headshot, you've got your bio, you've got your online media kit, you've got everything ready to go. So the prep work is crucial before you start pitching podcasts.
What grounds you?
My niece and nephew, they are 6 and 9, and they will tell me if something's good or not good. And I love them for it. They're the best people I know. Kids have a great way of grounding you, I think. If you think you're a bit fancy, you'll fall over the concrete in 1 second. That's just how it works, I think.
Okay, let's talk about your agency, The Talent Squad. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so we book podcast tours. So people come to us, mainly entrepreneurs and authors, and we help get their messaging right, the talking points. We'll do the one sheet, we'll do the online media kit, we'll pitch you out to shows, and then we'll get you booked on shows. So a podcast tour it can be as many podcasts as you like, maybe 12 or 24, depending if you're launching something. And that's it really. So we take the work out of doing that, and then you show up and do the show.
And what clients do you work with?
We work with a range of clients. Mostly our clients are entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and authors. So but in saying that, experts can be any kind of expert. So we've had documentary filmmakers that are in the fitness area. We've had accountants speaking to dentists. We've had dominatrix speaking on power and influence. We've had relationship coaches. So anyone who's an expert, there's a podcast for everything. There's even a podcast on escalators. So if you've got an area of expertise and an audience, there's a podcast for that and somebody that wants to listen to your message. And it's great because you can speak to your ideal audience. Why waste time on a big general audience when you can go straight to the person that's interested and looking for exactly what you're talking about?
Packaging these kits for the expert who want to go on these podcasts. What is your charges?
Yeah, so we do podcast tours, and if someone has never done a podcast before and you're new to being interviewed, we would recommend doing 12 interviews to get you started. Or if you're doing a book or a product launch, that's a good amount to do in advance and schedule out. Patience, you would know with your show, when you record is not when it's released. Sometimes you can record well in advance. So we suggest people booking their tours and recording in advance. And then we work with the client based on their budget.
Because I was wondering if someone who's listening out there and they want to start booking interviews and they want to come to work with you to say 12 interviews.
Hiring a podcast agency, think of it like hiring a PR agency. So you will need a budget in order to get that exposure, but you are getting exposure to a minimum of 12 different audiences. The other thing that people tend to do is have their own show, and which is fine and also great, but that is getting exposure to the same audience and building your own tribe as opposed to speaking to other people's audiences. So there's benefits for both strategies.
What is the future for podcasting?
I think that's a big question, and it's moving so quickly, Patience. Every 6 months, it's unbelievable. I've been in podcasting since 2007, so for 12 years. And it seems in the last, I would say, 3 years, the pace is going so quickly. I think podcasting will move internally to corporations and will be used for training purposes for such that like human resources and onboarding new employees. And I think it's going to get more interactive. So right now it's on demand, but I think things will get released and the audience will become more interactive with podcast as it goes on. It's an audio, if you think of it as an audio medium, there's a lot of room for, like right now it's sort of interviews and narratives, but I think there's room for more interactivity. And also I think that companies are just going to come in and use the intellectual property to make other things like TV shows. So we're already seeing that with talent agencies in Hollywood coming in and buying up shows and then turning them into other forms of entertainment. So that's already happening. The future is here. The future is now.
Okay. We were thinking next, but then, yes, thank you for telling us that the future actually is here right now. Okay, so where do we find your agency and how can we get in contact with you?
So thetalentsquad.com. That's the easiest thing to remember. Thetalentsquad.com. And all the socials are on there and all the emails if you have any questions. And we have a DIY. If you're not ready to start for someone to pitch you, like we understand not everybody's ready for an agency. So we have the Talent Squad Academy, and that's where you can learn and go at your own pace.
So, Clan, there will be more from Kelly in a moment. If you are listening on one of the many podcasting platforms rather than my website and you are encouraged by Kelly's journey, go to onlinesuccessjourney.com for a bonus portion of the interview. The Online Success Journey is a wonderful membership community built for people searching for the path to success. We are one big clan and you can be part of this community for free. Once you have joined the clan, click on part 2 of Kelly's journey or over 150 other journeys that are available and learn how you can find the right path for your own online success journey. That's a wrap, clan. Remember, success is a journey. Patience and Kelly.
This is not the end of the journey. We hope you've enjoyed listening to part 1 and want to be sure you know there is a second part to this and every journey podcast at onlinesuccessjourney.com, filled with even more success tips, uplifting stories, and even a bit of fun. There are dozens of episodes only available to the members of the Online Success Journey clan. Check out the website and click on Join the Clan for more information. Patience would like to thank you for listening to this podcast, and she has a free audio gift for you at her website. Go to onlinesuccessjourney.com for instant access to this gift. Of course, you know that listening to the journeys of others helps each of us chart our own path. So make sure you're subscribed to be notified as each new interview is posted. There are so many ways to stay connected to the Online Success Journey and to listen in. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we appreciate your help in telling others. One of the best ways to share the benefit you get is to rate and review it at Stitcher and other sites by clicking the stars or completing the ratings form, by clicking thumbs up and leaving a comment on YouTube, or liking and sharing the podcast on social media. To review the podcast within iTunes, simply open iTunes to the podcast, click on Ratings and Reviews, then write a review. On behalf of Patience and until next time, thanks once more for listening. It is our hope that this podcast will guide you on your own online success journey.